Okay, I think we'll get tonight's show on the road. And thanks everyone for turning up again. I know that some of our colleagues have been hit by bad weather again over the weekend, so I'm not sure if that's affecting a few people in the Gisborne and Napier, Tauranga sort of area. Just a reminder, we will be recording this so that it can be there for those who aren't able to join in. If you have a problem with that, please feel free to turn your video off, because we don't want anyone to feel uncomfortable, but it's important that we get this information saved and available to people who can't make it on tonight's session. The other thing we thought we would do is at the end of the session, Janine's going to put up a poll, because we're aware that 7 o'clock is quite early for some, but it works for others. So we're going to put up a poll for a selection of 3 or 4 times. And if you could just let us know which of those times as a general thing suits you best. And then we'll look at whether we shift it or not after Nationals. Tonight's topic is performance. And the reason we chose that for tonight is that it's an area that people can make a lot of difference very quickly in without having to completely rearrange their programs. We're not talking about how completely changing how you do a particular thing from a technical perspective. We thought that performance would allow people to think very carefully about how they present their programs when they're out and competing. Performance is one of the 4 components that a skater gets with their programs. So as you know, there's skating skills, transitions, performance, and choreography. With the performance, it's about how you show yourself off and how you present the program and how you connect with the audience and the judges. So probably one of the key things to think about is not so much what you see here in New Zealand, because like all RollArt scores, this is based on a score out of 10, 10 being the absolute best you can possibly imagine. So we're not talking the best for a particular age grade, we're talking the best you can possibly imagine anyone doing, whether they are a junior skater, a senior skater. I've seen some really amazing performances coming out of youngsters on some of the international stuff. So yeah, it's not like in the white system when a score was somewhat based on where you sat within your grade. This is based on the best you can imagine. So that's why we're still seeing in a lot of competitions here in New Zealand and overseas, scores down in the lower ranges, is because it's something that we're all learning how to do and how to bring out and how to assess. So I don't know if anyone's got their rule books handy, but I thought I would share the section from, where's it gone? It's disappeared on me. Just a moment. Get this up. Okay. Hopefully you guys can share this. You can see this now. Okay, so performance is, oh, hang on, sorry. Got to go back a page. Here we go. Starts down the bottom here. So the first criteria is personality or theatrical skills. So they talk about whether the performance comes to life as the music begins, whether the skater can transform themselves, or whether they have the ability to act. So to show, to create a story. And it doesn't have to be a particular story. It's the story that should come from the skater's heart. It's the communication of emotion through the use of the whole body, the face, the eyes, the hands. They talk about a commitment to the choreography. So we've often seen skaters, and we do see it with youngsters, and it's totally fine, that they do a movement because my coach said. But what we're looking for as skaters progress and develop the skill is that it comes from the heart and from a personal story that they're trying to tell through their program? Do they make you believe the character that they're trying to perform? And can they bring to the program different shades of the same character? Now, that's a fairly sophisticated something, but it's really important. Are you looking at the same image all the way through a program, or does it change?
Sorry, I think we've just got the screen that we're looking at is your Finder window with the file.
Oh, no.
Artistic
Okay.
expression file.
Sorry. Okay, technical faux pas here. Let me try again. Sorry. We will try that again. Hopefully now. How does that look? Has that brought up?
Yep, there we go. That's it.
Oh, brilliant. Thanks, Janine. Okay. So one of the other criteria is movement skills. So flexibility, using all ranges of movement, using the different planes of the body's performance, quality. Yeah, they talk about three-dimensional and sculptural things, sculptural aspects. And then kinesthetic is, again, all the different movement types that you can bring to the program. Emotional intent. It's, again, when you're talking about a story, if you're giving a story that is happy, are you making people feel happy? If it's a sad story, are you making people feel sad? And it's your story to choose. You don't have to do a particular theme. Every program doesn't have to be elegant. It can be whatever you need it to be. Projection is space and time and connection to the audience. So do you make people feel like time stands still? And I think the biggest example I can give as we get into this, because I want to hand over to Tony shortly to give you a judge's perspective on things, is I went to the Cirque du Soleil last night and it was amazing. And one of my favorite characters was the clown, because he held your attention and he told a story without any words, just by how he moved around as part of the cast and the story that was being told. And he communicated happy and sad and excited and scared and all these different emotions through just the use of his body and what he was doing. The final one, and it's something that's really important, when people see team commitment, they often think of dance couples, but remember this applies to show and to precision and to quartets as well. And it's the relationship between the team members. Are they all committed to the same story? Are they all telling the same story in the same way, or whatever their part is in the story? Are they working together as a group so that you forget that they're on skates and you're just looking at a story being told by 4 people, or 2 people, or 12 people, whatever the case may be. If you're looking at dance couples and things, if they're telling a romantic story, do you genuinely believe that they're actually a couple, not just 2 people skating on the rink together? So performance is a really important part of anybody's program, and it's how you really connect with the judges and your audience. So Tony, if you would like to take over. Tony's one of our most experienced international judges, and he's been going to quite a few international events since we got RollArt underway, and he's got a really good insight into what we're seeing on an international level. So Tony, take it away.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
That's good. Okay. I'm talking from a judge's point of view. And what Pam's already covered is the basics of what the performance part of the components is. And that's really what we're looking for, is we're looking to see, is that person committed into their routine? Now, when we're doing our scoring for these components, we have 4 different areas we're working with. And in the case of performance, if we see someone who's got an outstanding performance, we're going to give, say we're giving in the 2s for all the other components, we're not going to be giving in the 5s for that components because they are related. Okay, so although they are separate things, they are related. But there is no reason why we couldn't be in the 3s for performance and 2s for the rest of it, if that's the way it is. And as skaters go forward, as they progress the individual areas of the components, the marks should reflect that going forward. What I'm looking for when I'm sitting there to judge an event is I'm looking, how much is this skater really really doing this? Are they just going through the motions? Or are they actually skating to that music and really getting into it and really putting everything they've got into it? Because that is your performance, is putting that absolutely everything in there. And when I'm judging it, I'm looking for these things. I've got my 4 categories to look at, and when I'm looking at the performance, that'll stand out, because a lot of the times the performance is the one you see them putting the performance in. The rest of it's not going as well. And when I give my marks, that performance mark will be my highest mark. I think lately, especially in New Zealand, generally, I have been giving the performance mark as my highest mark on a lot of occasions, which is good to see. So it sees there has been some improvement there, but it is all related. And I say, your choreography works with your performance. Your skating skills work with your performance. If you have poor skating skills, it's going to drag your performance down. So it's important that as a judge, you're identifying their strongest point, which, as I say, lately it has been the performance for a lot of our New Zealand skaters. Performance is the one that's starting to come through as a stronger point at this stage. And as we build all those other categories, that'll all raise those marks up higher to where we want to be. Yeah, and it's a case of, you've just got to do the work. If you've got a piece of music, and if you're not committed to that piece of music, you're just skating to it, then your performance skills performance marks aren't going to be that high. You've actually got to be in that bit of music. You've got to show that bit of music and everything that you were doing throughout your routine. And always remember that these component scores don't just give you a score for the bits you do that look good. It gives you a component score for the entire routine. So from the moment you start to the moment you finish, we are judging those component scores, okay? So as I say, you might be able to do the first piece of music and you have a change in music. Your second bit of music, you don't like it as much and your performance comes down. That will affect your marks. So it's important that everything you do is to the highest you can do it, the standard you can do it, and show us that you're actually putting everything you can into it, because we want to give higher scores. We always want to give, I want to give the highest scores I can, but you've got to show me that you're giving me the performance that deserves to get those scores as well. The other thing that Pam was talking about, when I'm judging the tiny tot skater here in New Zealand, I am comparing you against perfect, which is the 10. So I'm scoring you against exactly the same score levels that I'm judging the world champion in the senior men's at Worlds. So that's what we're doing. It's no different. The old white system, like Pam was saying, it was quite different. It was about placements. It wasn't quite so much. With the RollArt system, it's placing the skaters in the level that they're in, and basically in the world. And that's why you'll see, especially here in New Zealand at the moment, where a lot of our scores are still down in the low numbers. There is some skaters that are starting to creep up, and it's great. We just got to keep moving forward and remember that we're judging against that world level, with the very, very best at the top. Yeah. So yeah, I think I've covered enough, Pam.
Yeah, sounds great. I think a big part of it for me as a judge as well, and I hope you agree, is that connection with the skater. The skater that actually gets out there looks like they want to be there, looks like they've got a story to tell. We've seen some really fun, cheeky ones. We've seen some ones where skaters are doing very simple programs, but they're hitting every note on the music and you can see them telling a story. It comes down to just subtle things like the costuming and that, you know, is that appropriate to the story they're trying to tell? And probably one other word of advice from my side is, I know often skaters find music that they like, but it's not necessarily music that they can skate a story to or a performance to. And so my heartfelt plea to coaches, over time, obviously that's not something you're going to change instantly, is to look for music that is for both, that they can, that the skater can actually enjoy skating to, but that can actually demonstrate that they can skate to. Anywho, so Phoenix, if you're ready, Phoenix has kindly offered to give some exercises or some ideas or ways that you can start developing the performance aspect of what you're doing. And so Phoenix, we'll hand it over to you.
Sweet. Yeah, so I'll talk from a skater and a bit of a coach perspective, but also I doubt many of you will know, I grew up as a theatre kid, grew up on the stage doing drama performances, all that jazz. So I've got kind of tips that are slightly outside of skating that are going to be useful in your skating. Skating itself is a bit more complex, but most of these will be sort of stuff that skaters can do at home in the mirror, not always on the rink. So I think I've got like 3 or 4 maybe key take-home messages. The first one that we use quite a lot in my little circle is fake it till you make it. You have to put on your performance and your character throughout the whole routine. You have to cover up your mistakes. If you've made a mistake, sometimes it's not obvious unless your face shows that it is. And if you start to get tired at the end of the routine, you also have to pull through and sort of fake in your performance so you can get the best marks possible. My key thing for this would be it includes in practice. Obviously, not every practice is going to be perfect. You can't expect yourself to be able to fake your way through a whole routine if you're not feeling great on competition day. It comes from training. It comes from even the warm-up beforehand. You have to get yourself in the zone of controlling your facial expressions, I suppose, and controlling your body language throughout a routine. Second one is very skating. I suppose anyone who does dance will know as well. Involve the judges. This is one where coaches, it's really helpful if you stand in the judge's spot while you're watching your skaters' routines. And skaters, if you're getting someone to film you, get them to film you from the judge's position so that you can see moments where you've gone right past them and haven't even lifted your head. You know, make that eye contact and do movements towards them. So if you're reaching out in that direction, pick a judge and reach to them. Got to involve them in what you're doing. The third one, again, video is really helpful for this, or using mirrors at home, because you can't always feel it as a skater, and even coaches saying things over and over again. If you can't feel it, it's not helpful. So finishing movements, you've got to watch yourself skate to understand to make the connection between the feeling and the look of what you're doing. So that's kind of a side note. Yeah, watch yourself skate and try and make the connection between the feeling and the doing. So you know, okay, I thought my arm was way above my head, but actually it's over here. Or my arm was up, but my hands were like this. And so you're feeling, okay, I have to do even more. And then you're like, oh, that looks normal. That looks good. That's what I need to feel every time I do it. The other thing I was going to say is the use of props, like imaginary props. This is a really good tool for coaches, especially if you're giving your skaters a movement to do. You want to help them understand why. So if you say, if they're doing some sort of sad longing piece and they're reaching out in front of them, give them something to reach for. It's like your friend has just let go of your hand and they're being pulled away from you and you have to reach and grab their hand. Yet they can even practice with a friend. They have to be able to imagine and portray that feeling to a judge. I've seen over the years skaters using props in practice, like swords. I think swords is quite a common one. They'll be flinging a sword around while they're doing their routines and their footwork sequences. So they know the purpose of their arm movements and what they're trying to show. And you can put an actual physical image in the skater's mind to make it a lot easier for them to understand and to show exactly what they're doing. The last one was just pretty much building on what Tony and Pam have said. about embodying the character. This one, it's essentially a combination of the other three, the actual performance itself, faking it till you're making it, involving the judges, and finishing the movements, showing something specific with your movements. But I'd say there's kind of three stages of it. For younger kids, it's very much listening to the words of the music. What is the word saying? If it's saying up, that's why I'm going up. If it's saying down, that's why I'm going down. That's a very common thing to happen in songs. The second stage is understanding the mood or the feeling. And again, this is where the mirror comes in and where watching videos comes in, not only of yourself, of other dancers, other routines, getting ideas for what the expression should be, and practicing what it feels like to make that expression. And then from there, you put those together to tell a story throughout the whole routine. But yeah, you can't expect a little tot skater to be able to tell a full story, but you can start with just certain words, making sure they're doing a specific movement on a specific word. And then, okay, cool, they've got the hang of that. What's our face doing? What's the whole overall mood? Should we be bopping around if it's a sad song? Things like that, and get them to understand it themselves. Because as a skater, if my coach was to say something to me and I don't actually kind of comprehend it, I don't know where it's coming from, never going to remember it, especially in a competition environment. It's going to go straight out of my head. So yeah, sorry, that was quite quick, but we've got plenty of time. So Pam, I'm sure you can take questions and stuff.
Yep. The one other thing I was just thinking about as you were talking, Phoenix, which was great, is as you're working with skaters, as you're going through your program, try to be in character the whole time, even just a tiny bit, because one of the things that we still see, particularly in free skating, is this: here's my beautiful presentation, but here comes the spin and everything goes out rigid and all they do is plain skate into the spin. Over time, develop the ability to carry a little something with you in and out of every element that's in the program, so that the program never stops. It's not program, content item, program, content item. The content is part of the program. Yeah, we've got Janine. Has any questions come across the chat? Okay, cool. I think we might just leave it there for now, unless anyone does have any quick questions. And what I'll get Janine to do is to put up the poll about the time. If anybody has any questions they think of after the sessions, like last week, send them through to the Artistic Secretary's email and she'll forward them on to us and we will answer them as best we can. But yeah, thank you everyone for coming. And yeah, hopefully we will now, because next week is the last week before Nationals, we're not going to do a session next week. We're going to let everybody focus on Nationals, and then we will let you know after Nationals when we're going to get started into it again. So if anyone's got any suggested subjects or topics we can include, that would be great. Otherwise, we'll just carry on bringing forward stuff. There's probably going to be stuff that comes out of Nationals. So yeah, we will sorry, I've got a couple of messages coming through. Okay, so for those of you who weren't here when we were having a wee chat, because of the size of the videos, we're actually going to get a YouTube channel set up for the artistic committee, and they're going to be put up on those. Again, Janine, email Janine for a link to where they are at the moment. Oh, you've popped that up on there as well. Awesome. Thanks, Janine. But yeah, we're eventually, so that they're easier to manage, we're going to pop them on a YouTube channel. But yeah, thanks everyone for coming. And yeah, if you could put in the poll when you would like to have these sessions moving forward, that'd be really great. And we'll travel safe, and we'll see you in Auckland at Nationals.